Are you ready to dive deeper into creating your own Pokemon ROM hack? In this short series of videos, we'll take your project to the next level by exploring some essential tools that make customizing Pokemon Emerald both fun and efficient. Here's what we'll cover in the first video. We'll start by downloading and setting up Visual Studio Code, your go-to code editor for working on the project. I'll walk you through some standard files covering maps, trainers, Pokemon, and more, and show how easy it is to make changes and test them instantly. But at the end of this short series, you'll have the skills to make meaningful changes to your ROM hacks, visuals, and scripting. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out. Now that we have the Poke Emerald expansion repository downloaded and our first build of the ROM completed, like we did last time, the next step would be to learn how to actually edit the files to make the changes we want in our game. A really good start for that is Visual Studio Code. Very good code editor, kind of all in one. Kind of see all your files, as we'll see later. But first up, you can define Visual Studio Code. If you don't already have it downloaded, just search it up in Google. You can click the link on it and download it for whatever operating system works for you, whatever one you're on. That one should be pretty good. For me, it's Mac. Download right there. Once you have that downloaded, then you'll open up Visual Studio Code. I keep mine on the bottom screen. Otherwise, you can just search for it. We'll open up Visual Studio Code. You'll see this screen should be at the start. Might have you go through some stuff that you need to download within Visual Studio Code. But otherwise, we'll now need to navigate to the files where our game is actually happening. So you can go open or Control-O, Command-O, depending on where you're at. But I just hit the open file. Mine's under Games, Tutorial, and then Poke Emerald Expansion. Once you're in that Poke Emerald Expansion file, you just want to hit Open. This will open up all of our files. A terminal may or may not pop up for you. If you want, you can just go up to the terminal and hit a new one. This is, instead of opening up the terminal in the bottom for me, this is where I just run the make and any other commands once I'm opened up into this. Mine, I went into this earlier, but you should just open up to a page. You'll open up to a page right like this. This is kind of the same look as if you looked into your files. But you can see they're all on the left here in this Explorer tab. Let's see, the first one, let's say we want to change or look at some of the scripts for Littleroot Town, kind of the main starting town. Here we could look and say, okay, let's type in Littleroot into this search bar. This will search across all files. As you can see, there's a lot of references for Littleroot Town, or even just Littleroot. I'm going to go, I think your mom says, it must be tiring riding in the truck. So I'll do riding in, or I'll just do the truck. That doesn't work. Let's see, what was the best search? I searched this before. Riding with. Yeah, riding with our things in the truck. So we can click, you search up, you can click and it'll open up the file that you came from. This one here is in Data, Maps, Littleroot Town, and then scripts.inc. If we look back in the Explorer tab, this will actually all pop up right here. You can see this is the file we're looking at. And here's everything under Littleroot Town. So the main Littleroot Town outside map. You can see there's the scripts.inc, a map.json, header, events, and connections.inc. I would say don't really touch any of these. You'll deal with those with PoriMap, the map editor, and it'll automatically update those files on their own, and you could have troubles if you kind of go and edit those manually. So right now, I would say only start dealing with the scripts.inc file, and eventually with PoriScript, we'll make a scripts.pori. We'll save that for another time. But then you can see here in this data.maps folder, there's a lot of maps. This will contain kind of all the maps you see within the game. There's, ancient Aqua Hideout, the Ancient Tomb. But right now we're in Littleroot. You can see this is the Littleroot outside. It'll just be Littleroot Town. That's the map name. You can go to Brendan's house, the male player's first floor, second floor. Same with May or Birch's lab. So that's kind of where you find all the different events and stuff that happen on the map. You can see here when we found the search, we found, hey, this is the text that mom says when we get off. It says, oh, hey, we're here. This player, that just prints the player's name when it's in those curly brackets. It's pretty nice. You can see kind of all the text there. We'll start working our way through this scripts.inc file. Up at the top here, kind of before everything, this is just helping out for different objects that are on the screen. We'll look into objects a little bit more within PoriMap, but they're numbered objects based on the order that they're added to the screen. But instead of trying to remember a number and reference that number throughout your whole script, you can say, oh, I want to know, let's say local ID Birch is the 8th object that we want. If I control F while I'm highlighting, I can see, okay, this is applying movement to local ID Birch. So instead of saying 8 every time you do this, you could do that. We're adding, kind of does all that for us. So that's just a little side effect we can talk about more when we get into PoriMap. The next biggest thing at the start of every scripts file will be this Littleroot, or the town name, and then map scripts method. This one you always have an on transition, so that's like when you're going into it. On frame table, so that's different things that happen while you're moving, and then on warp into map table. You can kind of see here, if we look up this on transition, it'll say, oh, the first, or if you're on transition, we'll set the flag to that we visited Littleroot town. This will happen kind of at the beginning of every town map, just saying, hey, we visited it. Eventually we can fly to it. There's a lot of, you can call the common event script to set up the graphics ID. That's the way it works later. We can look into that a little bit more in PoriMap later. And then you have a bunch of call if equal or call if unset. So this one, if this state variable is 2, we're going to call this event script function. Kind of the same thing all out. We'll look at these. The var Littleroot intro state kind of tells you the state of the map. In this Littleroot town map scripts at the beginning, all of these that are commented out by the @ symbol, those are just comments. You can see, oh, that var Littleroot town state, if it's 0, it's nothing. If the value is 1, oh, we met the rival. If the value is 2, we're saving Birch. If it's 3, we receive the Pokedex, and 4, we receive the running shoes. You can kind of see all those. There's different state variables across the map to kind of handle story progression and the event flows. You don't want one thing to happen before another thing happens, kind of that type of situation. A lot of just pop-ups and all of that you see. The biggest thing here in all these scripts files, or scripts.inc files for all the maps, there's going to be 3 main setups. There's going to be event scripts, which kind of lets the player, or moves along the action. It's the script of what's happening. So let's go to a good one. So let's say mom's standing outside the front of the door. Here we're going to clear the flag. This will make her visible. We're going to set her movement type to facing down. Check player gender. If not, we're going to go to there. So that's not the best one. But let's see, this step off the truck. But all of these are basically going to tell you, hey, what is happening. So this one is, we're going to go inside with mom. So it's walking through all the different movements, showing different text and all of that. So the event scripts will handle the events. They'll script the events, kind of very handily named. The big thing, event scripts typically will go first after this map scripts statement, and then the on transition and all of those. Then it'll go to the event scripts in the scripts.inc file. The next type of thing we'll know is it'll be movement functions. Those will go, that'll just show what movement needs to be done for the character. So this one, mom exiting house, so she'll walk down, and that's it. When she exits the house, mom approaches the player, she walks down, and then she walks in place left faster left. So there's different things. That just shows how other objects around the screen, typically human characters, other trainers, or even Pokemon like the Birch zigzagoon chasing him around, but that just tells different objects on the screen how to move. Delaying 16 seconds, 16 frames, delaying 8 frames, and then walking up. A lot of other things. And then the last type of thing, we kind of saw before, but the last type of function that you'll see within these scripts.inc files, kind of typically after the movements and at the bottom of the file, is going to be all these text. There's a lot of movements on this script. It's a rather large script, but it's going to be all these text functions. And it's always going to be .string, whatever. The -P means we're going to just scroll onto the next line. -N makes it a whole new line. And then you always end with the $. When we get into PoriScript, you won't need to worry about this as much. It'll kind of do auto formatting for you. But this is where you can see this is where most of the text lives for each map. Sometimes there'll be different text files where it's a bunch of different routes text that gets referenced via that, but most of the text files are within, or the text lines are within this script.inc under the text kind of functionality. And that's kind of it for how a .script, these scripts.inc files go. This is kind of a pretty standard one. Change these up. This is the text for the sign in Littleroot town. So you can change this if you want to make it say something different if your town's any different. But that's pretty much it for kind of these scripts.inc files. They kind of all go the same. The next type of thing, let's say we want to look at trainers. So I know the trainers are all going to be their kind of IDs, or what they refer to in the game is trainer underscore kind of whatever. So let's say we want to look at May's Route 103 team. You can see in the scripts.inc file, this is where she's going. This is, okay, we're going to start the May file with May battle with Trico. So it's named as you pick Trico. So we can take this and actually copy it over. And we can see what all files is this referenced in. So this is the one running out of the scripts.inc. There's the opponents.h. This one just kind of lists setting the memory for all the opponents and all that. You can see there's a lot of opponents within. There's like 864 different trainers you can battle. Here in this trainers.party, it's kind of just a big, I guess, comment file. This doesn't really do anything. You can kind of go up to the top and see this is all commented out. You can go down here and see the name is May, the class is rival, the pick is all of that, kind of in basic human readable text form that you would typically see. When we go into this trainers.h, and then that's in source data trainers.h, this is where all the actual data that the code reads is from. So we can see here, all right, we're on this trainer May route 103 Trico. That's perfect. And that equals, and then everything's going to be between this and this, kind of those big white, or not white, yellow curly brackets, everything in between. So you can see it sets up, trainer name is May, the class is the rival, the pick is for May, her encounter music goes all the way to the comma, it's trainer female and trainer encounter music female. Those get a little iffy. You can play around with those sounds if you want. There's a double battle. This one's false because it's not a double battle. If you want it to be a double battle, you can do true. That will require you to have two Pokemon. But that's how, instead of running into two trainers, that's how you kind of do it with like gym leader rematches. You'll set that true. There's the different AI flags that they have. So this one, she's just made it as a basic trainer AI. And then we get to what Pokemon she has. So this, you have party size is 1. And then here we'll make our party. This is between here. So she just has 1 Pokemon, but its species is Torchic. So we pick Trico, she gets Torchic. The gender is going to be random. The party IVs for this battle, or IVs for this one, going to be all 0s. It's a level 5. You can change this. For some reason, all the rivals, at least in the ones that I've seen, liked being hardy nature. So whatever you want to know, you can check that and see if you're debugging, or you can change it if you want different stat spreads. And then you have Dynamax level. I'm not going to use that in my ROM, but if you want to look at with Dynamax, you can take a look at that. If you take a look, that's with 1 Pokemon in the party. We can take a look here. The Route 10, the famous rival battle in between Slateport and Mauville. You can see kind of the same setup. Trainer name is May. The pick, all of that are the same. Then we get to here. The party size is 3. She has 3 Pokemon in this battle. We're going to look. All right, the first one, she has a Wingull. Random gender. This one, all 6 IVs. Level 18, hardy nature. The second one, Lombre, you can see the same. And then Combuskin, you can kind of see all of that. You notice all these don't have any move statement to them. That's the biggest thing. If they don't have any moves to them, it'll just take the last 4 moves that they should know from their level up learn set will be their learn set. But if we Control F and search, we can find, so this one has AI, it checks for if it's a bad move, but I know if there's a dot move, so if you wanted to add specific moves to what Pokemon you have, we can see this trainer here has a Lunatone. It's level 43, kind of the same setup, but then after the Dynamax level, they added this dot moves argument, and that's where you can set up moves equals this, and then this one has Psychic, Light Screen, Reflect, and Explosion. So that's just kind of how you would set up different moves or custom moves for your Pokemon. So you can change that to be kind of whatever you wanted. I'd say try to make it realistic, but unless you want a impossible battle, you can put whatever moves you want on there, as long as the move's into the game. So next we can actually take a look at what a move looks like. So let's take a look at Psychic. We can go and search that. There's contest stuff. There's going to be a lot of how to make a new move. A lot of different markdown files to help you add stuff. How to make new Pokemon, all of that. The moves, this is just defining the moves again in Moves.h. Partners, you can see moves. There's different animations for the moves. Trainers, I don't want to look at that. That's going to be all the trainers. Battle Frontiermons. You can close those up if you don't want to look at them. But yeah, you can see different egg moves. Psychic Train, it's going to have that as well. But yeah, and then in these Gen 1.h through Gen 9.h, we'll take a look at Gen 3 here. Level up move, 0 Psychic. So Alolan Raichu, it's level up learn set for we are in Gen 3. So if you have a Gen 3, you can set it as that. It learns Psychic at level 0, so that's upon evolution, and then at level 1, so if you start it lower, you can kind of see that. Let's say we want to look at Tricos. So you can see Trico learns Pound Leer, that's its level up moveset from Gen 3. The default right here is going to be in Gen 9. We can take a look at here. Here's Move Psychic, so Alolan Raichu's level up learn set in Gen 9 is a lot bigger. We'll go back to Trico again. You can see it's a lot different. It'll start with Leafage when you get it. Some of these you might want to push that off to level 6 and move stuff around and alter the levels to make different like first rival battles easier. But you can kind of see from there kind of however you want to do that. We can look, if we search up Gen.9, I want to go to, this is saying, defining all the gen constants, and the latest gen is Gen 9. So anytime we see Gen latest, it'll be Gen 9. But yeah, that's pretty much, we can search up Gen latest, kind of just work our way through here. But basically, there's a lot of different flags. I don't want the battle. There's gen config changes. We're saying we're in Gen 9 or the latest gen, whatever. You can change that and all that. There's a bunch of stuff you can go. This one is different items. We're in Gen 9, so fossils are regular items, and became regular items after Gen 4 and all that. You can change this to kind of modify the game to whatever generation you're looking for. But those are all pretty good. You can do a lot of other stuff. Another thing people like to do is the shiny odds. So you can look shiny odds. We'll define it, and the odds right here in this Pokemon H, shiny odds 8, but the actual odds are whatever this number is divided by 65,536. So let's say we have this, and we want to make a, let's see, times 0.05, so that's a 5% odds chance. This would be 3276 or 3277. You can change that number. Instead of 8, you can change it to that, and we can get about a 5% shiny odds, kind of re-rolls on that. That's another fun thing. And I guess the last thing we'll do is a nice fun, just so we can see it really quick. We can make a change to that Birch intro speech that it gives you. So I know he says, welcome to, and I think it's the world of Pokemon. Yeah, so here it's in this birchspeech.inc, so data text birchspeech.inc, we can see he says, hey, sorry to keep you waiting. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. My name is Birch, but everyone calls me the Pokemon Professor. And it kind of goes through that whole intro scene where you ask, are you a boy or a girl? What's your name? And then he says, oh, so it's you, your player name. And all that. You moved to my hometown. Are you ready to go? Come see me later. So let's make a couple quick changes. Let's say in my Pokemon Centennial, the leader or the professor's name is going to be Aspen. And I want all these words to be lowercase, just not all uppercase, because that's how a lot of the Pokemon names are set for now. So I'm going to change that. Let's just copy paste some of these. And then Professor. So let's say I want to make just those quick changes there within the first speech. I can do it, kind of go throughout the file or whatever if we want. But let's check out and see if these changes worked. We can go down to this terminal. Remember, if you didn't have it open up, you can just do a new terminal there. And then with just quick text changes like this, I typically just run just a make. I don't do any nproc or stuff like that. You can run it there. You can see we're making the file. Once it's done, we can open up the ROM and actually see if our changes took place. Hopefully this one doesn't take too long to run. All right, so my bad, guys. That make took a little longer than I expected, so you might want to do the nproc or wherever the thing is in for Mac. I have that saved somewhere else. Might take a little bit longer to run than you want. Usually quick text changes don't take too long, but I guess this one I did a little bit more than I thought. But now that we have it run, we can actually go back to our ROM. And let's open that up. And we can see here, all of this stays the same, but we should be able to notice that the text is a little different this time and should reflect the changes we made. And he's going to start talking. He's a little slow, but here you go. It says, hey, sorry to keep you waiting. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. And you see it's not in all caps, so the changes we made, it does seem to be working. My name is Aspen. Yep, that's how I changed the professor's name. And everyone calls me the Pokemon Professor. So we can see here, this is the part where we didn't change, so it's back to all caps again. But that's how most of the changes should work. It's kind of, there's a lot more changes to go to. But as long as you successfully did that, you made your first changes and the first step onto making the game into what you want to be.